Hey, how you guys doing this evening? Tonight I'm going to begin Isaiah chapter 3. Isaiah chapter 3 is a great chapter on hardcore, raw judgment. Judgment of Israel here for living in defiance of God, making their own way, going into His place of worship, sacrificing animals, and having a form of godliness like we talked about in 2 Timothy, but not having the knowledge thereof. Kind of like today's Christians. Not the body of Christ, the true church Christians, but the Christians we all complain about. So verse 1, For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread, and the whole stay of water. Well, man can't live by bread alone, and we sure do need it. There are 13 famines of judgment in the Bible, and all of them, every one of them, deal with God's chosen people, the nation of Israel. The mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet, and the prudent and the ancient, the captain of 50, and the honorable man, and the counselor, and the cunning artificer, and the eloquent orator. God's removing all competent leadership, and He's going to leave them to their own demise. He's going to let them eat each other from the inside out. They have made their own way, and their own selfish appetites will consume one another. Eat them from the inside out. There are men and women in office today that have no qualifications of a statesman. None whatsoever. You see it in the news. You see it at the White House briefings and all that. You see it. And 100 years ago, they'd be called just a cheap politician. But today, they're called statesmen. And when society rejects God's law, His punishment is their lawlessness. Not just a message from God's people, but for all people. This message is for everyone that have been and that are. It belongs to God's people. And God's people are us today. Grafted in to this judgment for sin. And I will give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them. Men in high positions today should be wearing diapers. It's pathetic. It's a joke. Juveniles acting as rulers. And you know, it's really gotten bad. It has really gotten bad. I'm not going to name positions and the people, the title holders of those positions, but y'all see it. If you don't, you need to clean your eyes out, get the grit out, clean the wax out of your ears, and be more attentive and pay attention if you don't see it. Verse 5, And the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. Minorities want to inflict their own ways on others. And Christians, the church, we're body of Christ, we're minorities. But we're not inflicting our ways on anybody too much. We're weak. We need to get a voice. We need to stand up for error in morals in our circles of conversation and speak up and be a voice. Be a voice for this minority group of us Christians. Verse 6, When a man shall take hold of his brother of the house of his father, saying, Thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand. Envy reigns in many family relationships. One brother may be more advanced than the other. The brother still has dignity, but they're broke. They're without food and clothing. So they're saying, let this brother be the executive officer. Let him be in charge of everyone. In the affairs that we're going through now, thou hast clothing. Be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under your hand. They're trying to pawn their afflictions off on the diligent, the smart, the humble one, the one that's got his house in order, trying to pawn their baggage off on him. Verse 7, in that day shall he swear, saying, I will not be a healer. For in my house is neither bread nor clothing. Make me not a ruler of the people. The brother still has his dignity. Again. But he's going to refuse. He's going to refuse to take the role over for Israel and deal with their problems. When a nation makes laws contradicting God's, we're in defiance, inviting God's judgment. And by defying God's rules, when a country openly supports abortion for the convenience of the mother, whether she wants to keep her physique and her body figure, or maybe she just can't afford it, when a nation makes laws for murder, you're inviting God's judgment. When schools give contraceptive out promoting sexual intercourse and downgrading marriage, you're inviting God's judgment. When you support sexuality to the person's discretion, I'm a man, I want to be a woman. Is that odd? Sure is. As far as I'll go with that. But when you endorse that as a nation, you're inviting the wrath of God. I won't get into particulars here, but let's see here lately. Fire, mad fire, volcanoes, violent torrential downpours, just to name a few. You're inviting God's judgment when you go against our Father, our Creator's laws that's written on our hearts. But we choose to make our own way. We choose to make our laws that are convenient for our carnal lives, right? For Jerusalem is ruined, and Judah is fallen, because their tongue and their doings are against the Lord, to provoke the eyes of his glory. Oh, Jerusalem is ruined, and Judah has fallen. God's men are not standing up, pointing out the ruined cities of our day today. God has been ran out of Washington, and he's most certainly been ran out of our public schools. We need to point out more. The towns, the municipalities and cities we live in, the counties we live in. Good opportunity to do that if you go to the market, farmer's market, or if you go to the local carnival, or go to the mall. Strike up a conversation with somebody and see if they're aware of their surroundings and how our cities are in ruins. Spiritually, they are surely in ruins. They might not be able to see it with their eyes because they're so contaminated with worldliness and materialism, but open their eyes up to it and show them what kind of ruins we're in and what's going to come. Verse 9. The shew of their countenance doth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They hid it not. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. They openly practice sin. Lot begged, don't do this. And they said, who do you think you are, an outsider, skirting up in here and going to tell us what to do? Well, they grew angry when Lot called them out on their sin. Now, Lot wasn't a shining star and a perfect guy by any means, but he made a stand. He made a stand, and Peter even complimented him on it. He made a stand. They outwardly sinned, and an outsider came in to give them reproach. And they put a bad taste in their mouth, salt in the wounds. They didn't like it. Okay? I'm getting short on time here. I got to get running. So, next time, I guess I reckon I'll go through verses 10 through 17. Tonight was Isaiah chapter 3, verses 1 through 9. So, thank you for listening, guys. Till next time.